Chapter 1. Coming Home, 2008. There were several reasons why I thought I would be dead long before Jamie. I've witnessed the true revulsion of war, encountering bodies twisted and strewn in hideous, unnatural ways while serving my country in Afghanistan. Man's horror wrought upon his fellow man while supposedly seeking peace. Although, there was what happened in the woods. I'm standing here in my old driveway, thinking about my best friend Jack's sister, Jamie, who just passed away 2 weeks ago. She was sideswiped by an 18-wheeler as she was coming out of the Walmart parking lot in our hometown, Hammond. Memories of her as a young girl kept flashing in and out of my mind like an old, flickering film clip, only with color and occasional sound. I remember well all the time she used to bug the hell out of Jack and I, always diming us out to our parents whenever she found out some dirt. Even though she got on our nerves back when we were kids, we were all wishing to God that she was still with us right now. Jesus, I can only imagine how much Jack must be missing her. The beauty mark she had under her left eye seems to be the image that burned its way into my mind like a hot iron. Jamie was the only girl I knew with one of those marks, besides some erstwhile celebrities, and now my wife, Corey. I remember when Jamie was working at a corn dog stand in the Hammond Mall a few years back and giving away free food to my kids. Nachos, corn dogs, and strawberry ices had stuffed their greedy bellies that day, and I remember asking myself, am I starving these kids or something? I watched them scarf down greasy corn dogs like prison inmates scarfing their final meal before the chair. I'd continued to stand at the counter and make small talk with Jamie while my unruly heathens finished their plates. It breaks my heart now to know that although my children met her and will always remember her presence, Jamie's own child, who is a year old, will never lay eyes on his mother's face again, or even get to know her. I don't know what else to say besides my heart goes out to him, and I know deep down in the remainder of my soul he'll be loved and well taken care of for the rest of his life. The smell of the air here always puts my body at ease as it chases itself, the cooling chill of it descending deep down into my lungs. It actually feels as if I'm being cleansed of all the poison my body has been exposed to over the last 13 years. The smells of the pines, honeysuckles, and magnolia bushes remind me of the days that Jack and I roamed the streets without a care in the world. It amazes me that our sense of smell as human beings is so directly linked to our memory, and how catching a whiff of something or having an unwanted stench invade your senses can set off one of two different chains of events. One is a swarming overflow of blissful memories, being feelings of happiness, maybe the occasional replaying of a significant event in your life. The other is the complete opposite, which in turn is filled with regretful memories and feelings of sadness, accompanied with the rerun of something traumatic that occurred in your life. To this very day, I can't stand the smell of burnt pork. On Father's Day, while serving in Afghanistan, I had to medically evacuate several soldiers who'd been hit by a suicide bomber while riding reconnaissance in their vehicle. Once we'd got the injured soldiers transported out by the helicopter, we were instructed to clean up the rest of the bomber and retrieve as many of the remains as possible. Lo and behold, less than 50 feet away from where I began my search, I stumbled upon the bomber's singed, mutilated, severed leg next to a building wall. The smell of burning flesh that clung to the charred, protruding bones seared an everlasting imprint on both my senses and brain as I stood there under the scorching sun, breathing in the scorched stink of a dead coward. But, unbeknownst to all around me, the aftermath of Mr. Suicide Bomber's morning excursion wasn't the first time I'd been subjected to violence, death, or the disturbingly macabre. I'd learned all about those right here where I'm standing, Rhine Road. I can hear the crickets chirping in the distance, the same song they've sung since I was a small boy. The frogs are calling for their mates with stylish vocals, which to me sound horrible, all while the calm wind blows ever so gracefully through the tall, majestic pines. I'm here tonight not only to reminisce about the wonderful times I had while growing up on this street,
but also to face the demons that have been haunting me in my dreams for the last 13 years. Demons that kept me up at night more than the earth-shaking crash of mortar fire or memories of random firefights combined. I have to do this thing for me, and no one else. I must come to terms with my past so that I may move on with my life. As darkness begins to set in on Rhine Road, I watch the last sliver of daylight slope below the trees that stand directly in front of me. While I disregard the owls as they begin their nightly operas, I focus my attention to my old backyard and see that my basketball hoop is still exactly where I left it all those many years ago. Weeds and grass have wrapped themselves all the way up to engulf the backboard, and now it resembles a basketball goal that Swamp Thing would shoot hoops on. I guess whoever moved into my grandparents' old house recently never got around to tearing the old bastard down, as unsafe as it looked. So here it is, like some lonely survivor of a great basketball holocaust, becoming less and less visible to me as the darkness slowly swallowed it up. I shut my car door, walk down the old driveway, and can't believe it's still partially paved, with the remnants of the asphalt I remember so clearly. Weeds and grass are winning the battle over the pavement, though. Green growth shoots out from the uncountable cracks that crisscross the lingering blacktop, like some oozing infection exuding from beneath the earth. Snap! I quickly turn around and with nervous eyes examine the woods directly behind me across the street. Something, or someone, was in there. I pause in total silence, listening, waiting and watching the woods. Nothing. Maybe it was just a raccoon, or some other furry creature chasing down its prey. A deep sigh of relief releases itself from my lungs, and I turn back to resume my walk along the driveway. I postpone my trip a second time. My eyes blur and a faint vision of my old mobile home comes into focus on the flickering screen of my mind. It feels as I am suffering a hallucination, which is purposefully attempting to distract me from my purpose of being here. Deep inside my imagination, I envision the trailer's long, white body stretched sideways across the yard, separated by rust-colored lines that run vertically every 15 feet or so, and my old bedroom window that seemed to scream for my attention. I spent many rainy days and sleepless nights gazing from that window, upon the star-filled skies, or the torrential downpours that often took place upon the weed-riddled lawn. In my mind, the front porch, which hosted many stunts with hippity-hops from my brother and I, stood its ground under the cheap outer screen door and firmly connected itself to the blistering white entrance of the trailer. It's funny how I can remember what my trailer looked like way back then, yet I can't remember where the hell I put my car keys on a daily basis. I made so many wonderful memories growing up in that old trailer with my mother, Gayla, and our brother, Hunter. Oftentimes I wish I could return to those days, but of course I can't. I take another deep breath of the fresh country air and feel it sweep down through my body. My chest begins to swell, and a solitary tear rolls out of my left eye and trickles down my face. Wiping it away, I close my eyes and think back to 1989, the year I made some of my fondest memories as a child, and the time I began living some of my worst nightmares.